Collin Johns, pickleball tip number 5. Drop cross court, not middle. Many points are given up easily to the returning team because it's dropped right down the middle. Undoubtedly, the third shot drop is one of the most important shots in pickleball. So why don't we think about this shot differently? And that's what we're going to do this segment. Let's re-look at this point. Look at it in slow motion. I think that's what that means. We have Lee Waters dropping. Why did she drop middle? She popped it up a little, which isn't a big deal if she was dropping cross court to that backhand, but she dropped middle. Everyone's looking for forehand middle, right? You hear forehand middle a lot, and that's what we have to think about. Go ahead, Joey. Now hear me out. The person on the left are forehand middle, right? They have the forehand middle. They're always looking for that, right? So if they're always looking for that, what's a good place to drop? That low backhand, right? That low backhand is the key. And that's what Collin Johns is saying. The forehand middle is always going to be the aggressor, so drop low to that backhand, cross court. That's your key to get into the kitchen. If you have a Wonka bar, you open it up, that's your golden ticket. That shot right there by Mark Napotovich. Let's look at it in slow motion. Mark is in the top right-hand corner. Look at him hit the bottom of that ball, cross court. And let's see it one more time. Look how he prepares, right? He's going off that right foot, he's pushing off a little, and he has a nice loose wrist. Same thing, Scott, he drops beautifully cross court, and look at that ball sink. I know it looks simple, but he's putting backspin on that. That's a CX14 gearbox, and he's really playing the odds, because this is what this segment's about, right? Go ahead, Joey. Now, I'm not saying to throw out tip number 4, and you can look at it right there from Collin Johns, regress towards the middle. But this is a little different because we're approaching the net, right? It's like the spelling tip, I before E, except after C. But sometimes after C, you do need an E. I don't know. Furthermore, dropping heavy topspin, cross court, may get your opponents to either pop it up, right? We saw that. Or it might get your opponents to really go after it with that backhand roll. But with that heavy topspin in the wind while it's sinking, it's very tough to get the proper weight distribution. You really have to move your feet. If it's windy, that might affect it too, and that might make a lot of errors on that backhand roll. I'm sure you see it in rec play all the time. I'm sure you do. When you're in rec play, practice this shot. Again, people tend to go for a little more on that backhand because they know if they pop it up going cross court, they're going to be in trouble, right? Take a look at Yanni. He is in the near left-hand corner, hits a beautiful drop. And what happens? Don't you see that a ton? You see the person try to hit a backhand roll and they miss it? That's a number of reasons. If you're outside the wind, there's a ton of topspin on that drop, and you're making your opponent stay balanced. Take a look at this one. What did Alexandro do wrong? Not a ton. Look, he tried to drop down the middle. He's on the right side now, right? So it's a little different. Joey, what should we do? Now, if we're on that right side and we're dropping, if we drop cross court, it's going to that forehand, which is a play we can do. Now, there's 2 disadvantages if we drop straight in front of us cross court at the opponent's backhand. What are they? 1, you have less space to work with. It's a little higher on that side opposed to the middle, but you can do it. You see the Waters do it all the time. 2, your opponents can go for that Ernie if you really screw up. So if you're dropping directly in front of you and you don't hit the best drop, they can jump the kitchen and hit a good shot. They can really hit a good shot. So this is exactly what we don't want to do. We don't want to pop up that third shot drop in the middle. Right, Sam? I'm always tough on Sam. Now, Mark's on the right side now, right? You can drop that ball cross court on the right side. They still might miss that forehand, and it's a viable play. But what are some other things you might want to do? Tony Giannani, he's a pro, top right-hand corner, taught pretty much Simone, all the pros. And look how simple he makes this. So he's dropping directly in front of him, but notice what he's thinking, right? Ed has a huge forehand. He's staying back. And look at Cliff. He's in the top left-hand corner. Cliff is trying to bail him out or surprise his opponents. So think about that. Here's another example. This is Mark Johnston. Hits a beautiful drop down the middle. Now it does have a lot of spin, and I'm just trying to show you a bunch of things you can do. Here's Cliff. Cliff does pretty much what Tony does, but look at Cliff. He's hitting that like a dink. So if you have a really short ball, you can hit it like a dink and even think to Ernie. You know he's thinking about it. Look at him. One more thing, if you don't get the drop to the backhand dink, they might try to run around it and get an error. One more option you could do is drive that first ball, drop that second ball at the person who's backhand middle. Drop it at that backhand. So forehand middle, it's a little tougher for them to get because you drove the first one. You get a little closer. You drop that right at your opponent's backhand, middle, backhand. Think that makes sense? No, it makes absolutely no sense. Let me show you what it means. So Lee Waters drives at third and hits the fifth shot drop to the person's backhand on the middle side. The reason she's driving the third shot, well, number one, Anna can poach, right? So it gives her that opportunity. Number two, it's an easier fifth shot drop. If she dropped the third ball, look at the person forehand middle, they're really trying to jump in there, right? So she drives a third to get an easier fifth shot. Now take a look at this. This is just a beautiful drive. And what does this do? It's an easier fifth shot drop. I would prefer Alexandro to get it at the red person's inner foot so he's hitting a backhand dink, because look, he can attack. Alexandro hits a reset and gets in the point. Let me leave you with this. This is a perfect drop. This is what Collin Johns wants. Cross court at the person's backhand, and that's Mike Foster. He's a pro, but still Mark wins the point. Pickleball lovers, do you agree with Collin Johns? Check out his tip number 4. It's a very good video, and don't forget to have a good day.